Almost, now we're live and recording. Welcome, everybody.
Hey, everyone.
There's 13, John, Virginia. Oh, that's where you are. He's asking, he's chatting at you.
Yeah.
Well, this is Matrix Talk. I'm Kevin. Over there on the other side of the screen is Phil. And our guest today is Elena. And
hi, everybody.
And she's going to do a really cool presentation for us. And I'm going to let her tell us about it so I don't just muck it all up, which I've been known to do. Elena, you're on. Tell us what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Kevin and Phil, for sharing this platform with today, allowing me to come out and talk to all these great people. So I wanted to talk about how we can begin a conversation to talk to emotionally dysregulated teens during the pandemic. So I have I'm going to try to do a screen share. And if that doesn't work, Phil has graciously agreed to have the whiteboard available, and then I'll just view my talking points in another screen. So if I'm not giving direct eye contact, you'll know why that's happening. So let me try to do my screen share. Application window. Nope. Chrome tab.
You'd say it would be application window.
Application window.
Yeah.
That would be this one. Okay. Can everybody see the PowerPoint?
Nope.
Nothing yet.
Okay.
Can you see it? You got it?
I could see my PowerPoint. Yeah.
All right.
There it is. Okay. Okay. Is everybody able to see the PowerPoint now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
There it is.
Awesome. So I don't see the camera or any of the chat boxes. So
okay,
if something
I'll take care of the chat stuff for you if you
Thank you. That would be great.
Three of us are at the bottom. We're still appearing.
Yeah, we're down here at the bottom.
We're in the lower left at my end.
Yep.
Okay.
I am too.
And your slides are proudly displayed, Elena. You're in good shape.
Oh, no, they look great. That's the
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I'm down here in, and it feels weird to say this because I grew up in New York, New Jersey area and have just recently relocated. It's been my third year down in Virginia. So I get Northern Virginia, but I have to say I'm down here in Virginia. So down here in Virginia and have been working with continuing my work with families and with children, teenagers, with a variety of diagnoses, but mostly children and teens that are on the autism spectrum, and with their families. But just a little bit about myself. But I wanted to, take a little time today and talk about something that's so many of us are dealing with, as practitioners and even parents. So mostly this would be a guide for parents and caregivers on how they can lead their discussion with their teenagers. And I'm going to use the term teenagers and children interchangeably throughout this presentation, mainly because as a parent of an adult child and a teenager, no matter how old my children are, I will always refer to them as my children. So I just feel, yeah, it doesn't matter if they're 25 or 16, right?
Younger than me, they're children.
They're always children. So, again, thank you, Kevin and Phil, for allowing me this opportunity to come out here today and talk to everyone. I wanted to start out asking a question. How many of you from the audience want to go back to being a teenager in high school? I'm guessing nobody?
No, I can talk. No.
No. Okay.
I would say no.
Yeah, right.
I'm going with no.
No. Okay. None of us want to go back to that time in our life, right?
Nope.
And we can ask ourselves a little bit, why, and many of us will have different answers. For myself, it was, that struggle of being independent, having to, and at the same time wanting guidance from my mom, the struggle of my identity, who am I in high school, as far as what peer group stress for grades and, and what am I going to do after high school, right? So it was never a fun time. Like I wasn't looking back at that time of like, yeah, that was such a cool time in my life, right? And then so I think we're all on the same track of like, that wasn't really a time that we would want to go back to. Maybe, at a younger age, we would say yes, or maybe, in our mid-20s, sometimes we were like, yeah, that was a cool time to go back to and redo a few things. And then the other thing I wanted to ask everyone is, can you imagine having to be stuck, quote unquote, at home with your parents for about 3 months when you were like 14 or 15 years old? I mean, just take a minute and just, ask that, like, for yourself. I mean, it's one thing if you have access to.
People are saying no, thank you.
Exactly, right?
It didn't even take a minute, Elena.
Not even a minute. Okay, right. So, I mean, growing up, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, so we didn't really have a lot of access to big like playgrounds or or anything like that, or big yards, or so my opportunity to go and explore the wilderness was when we would just be we'd all be piled into a station wagon and be shipped to the Catskills for the summer, and that's when I really had a great time, right? But thinking about like being 14 and stuck in an apartment with my parents for 3 months, I really think I would have lost my mind, right?
Tina Sebi wouldn't have survived, according to her.
No, I would not have survived at all. So I want, I kind of wanted to start with this of just like giving us a little perspective of what some of our teens might be going to, what are some going through. And then with our knowledge of as parents and caregivers, we know, that it's challenging being a teenager, right? Parents don't know anything, right? We know nothing. We've never done this before. We've never had similar emotions. We've never, gone through any of these processes. And what makes it even more difficult now is that we truly, as adults, have never gone through a pandemic, right? Most of us are, have not lived through, the Spanish flu. So this is really new ground for all of us. So it's challenging for our teens, for our children, and it's also challenging for us because we're learning as we go with them. So that's, again, just, wanting to get some perspective on what they're going through. And then, as adults, as parents, we think, how do we approach sensitive topics, in general, right? We try to have an organized discussion with our team. We try, and it might look different for every family. Usually trying to set up a time and a safe place of when we want to meet and talk about something. Setting up some boundaries for all parties. So like, if this is a time that we're going to meet, we're going to be meeting, from this time to this time, we're going to sit at the table. And I bring this to our attention is because when we, in the heat of the moment, it is oftentimes, and we'll talk more about this as we go through the matrix, it's oftentimes hard to have a rational discussion with, an emotionally charged teenager, right? You can almost look at it as a 2-year-old that's having a tantrum, right? You're not going to be able to reason with the 2-year-old. You got to let them cry it out, wait for them to get tired, go to sleep, right? With your teenagers, sometimes you have to almost step back and follow the same route, take a step back, and then come back to having that discussion, but at least, doing it in a more organized fashion. So, and that will make a little more sense as we go through the matrix once we get up into the upper right corner. So, we're starting out, with our favorite question, right? Especially when doing the pro-social matrix is, what's important to us as parents and for our teenagers? What's our shared purpose?
So people can chat in, right?
We're supposed to answer.
Yeah, so this is where you guys get to chat in.
What's our shared purpose?
I typed in some answers, but feel free to deviate.
I said stay alive. I started it.
That's very, very practical. Let's
Keep it real simple.
Uh,
Anybody else?
oh, come on. We must have. We have more stuff.
Communicate. Okay. Helen says communicate, Elena.
Yeah, communicate. So that can go. Like having a relationship with each other, right?
John is saying to have a calmer life in the family.
Yes.
Evan just wants to eat.
Yeah, and sometimes just wanting to have a peaceful meal, right? Without being. Yeah.
Here they all coming now. Here they are strengthening the
Ability,
communication,
survive,
keep everyone safe, survive, stability. Chris says Genevieve communication, not be at each other's throats.
Yes. Yeah.
Safety emotionally and physically, Megan says.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, so I think we're, a lot of this, a lot of similar answers coming in. So we're all on the same page. Is that we want to have a good relationship with each other. We want to have, we want to be able to communicate. We want to be healthy. The safety of our children is important, and for our teens, they might come back with they want freedom, right? They want to be free to choose and free to do what they want. And we want that for them too, right? As parents, we ask, where do we want our children to be, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? How do we see our child as an adult? And we oftentimes will answer that, we want them to be independent. We want them to be able to be problem solvers. We want them to, be resilient. Right. So we want the same things as our teens do. We want them to be free and we want them to, to eat in peace, right? Because we value our meals as well. The first, and again, like I said in our first slide, I'm going to use the pro-social matrix as a guide for us on how to have this conversation, with your team. So when your team is calmer and more regulated, this is something that you can try to use to have that conversation. The next thing, with our matrix, if we go into the lower left quadrant, I'm going to step back. I'm just assuming, and this is probably wrong of me, that everybody on our call today is familiar with the matrix and toward moves and away moves and all of that.
They'll pick it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll pick it up. Yeah.
They'll pick it up. Okay. The smiley face in the middle is, that's to signal, the togetherness of parent and child, right? So with our, when we're doing the matrix, for the individual, I use that as, that's you in the middle, watching all of these things that are happening. And for my parents and teens, I would say that's both of you, it's in the middle, watching what you're saying and what you're doing, to move through the matrix.
Okay.
And so then, if we're looking into the left quadrant, then I would ask, what shows up inside of us? What are some thoughts and feelings that get in the way of moving toward our shared purpose? I put some answers in there, but if you guys want to type it into the chat, that would be awesome. So I know Phil and Kevin call it, and I love this, what's that yucky stuff? What's all that yucky stuff that shows up that gets in the way?
There we go. We got some good stuff in there.
Yeah, let's see what else.
Anybody else? Come on, let's see.
I'll jump in. Exhaustion, anxiety, frustration.
I'm
gonna put mine in. I don't want to be here.
Right.
Attitude. Ooh, attitude.
Oh yeah.
I'm guessing not the positive mental attitude there.
The snarky.
Snarky. Oh, I didn't put that there. Snarky. That's good. Rigidity. Arguments. No one's listening.
Yes.
Feeling stifled. Uh-oh. Looks like we've been here before. No.
Yes.
Disappointment.
Yes.
Yeah. Disappointment, exactly, right? All of those, all those things. The the rolling of the eyes, right? I call it they have their corneas need to get a little more oxygen, that's why they're rolling their eyes.
Exercise.
Yeah, exercise, right?
So overwhelmed, lack of direction, exhaustion. Yes.
Yeah, lots of stuff, right? Yep. And these things would show up because during conversations of our teens want to do something, we feel that it's might be a little too dangerous. We don't want to yield into what they want, and now all of this stuff starts happening, right? Why do you so it could be parents can say why do you need to go out right now, or the kids can come back with don't you care about my freedom, or don't you care about my friends, and things
here's
like
a good
that.
one. No one understands, Helen says.
No one understands. Right.
You don't understand me.
Right. And right. Absolutely. Right. And so now thinking about, all of these words and thoughts and feelings are coming, they're coming at us. They're showing up inside of us. And what's happening to us, right? I can tell you when this is happening to me, I am becoming an emotional roller coaster, extremely dysregulated.
Yeah. Well, here's Jazz. Jazz saying these self-involved, spoiled, fill in the blank, rotten, self-centered, ungrateful little brats.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. And we can think that, and these aren't right. And we're going to have those thoughts about our own children, right? Could you imagine? Right. This is happening with our own children, right? And then, and then I don't know about anybody else that's on, but then pretty much quickly after, then I start, self-deprecating and like, how can I think this way? This is my flesh and blood. This is my child. This is someone that I care about. How can I even think this about them? Right. So we really begin to spiral very quickly into this away circle. Not feeling heard at all, right? They're not feeling heard, and we're not feeling heard either.
Here we go. All kinds of interesting ads. Spoiled, crazy, sloppy, lazy loafers.
Oh my goodness.
You're not kidding.
Right. They're not. Yeah, it is good stuff, right? Because truly, they're stuck inside for 3 months, right? And their biggest form of entertainment is being on some kind of a screen or some kind of a device, right? That doesn't, those things don't usually add up to doing the laundry, cleaning the house, making dinner, taking care of the pets or anything, right? They're on their devices.
So just to make sure, in case people don't know, Elena is talking about having all the family members say this kind of stuff out loud and write it up on a whiteboard. And as an example of that, Phil can show you a whiteboard.
Here we go. And I haven't been writing it down, but
it hasn't been, but you can
have that there.
And you can write this stuff down. Have a good time. Yeah. Writing down this yucky stuff.
Like if they say, I don't want to be here, write it down.
Exactly. Right. It's absolutely right. Because again, that's a great reminder because we're doing this at a time of calmness, right? We're not doing this when a storm is happening. So we have set up a date. We have sent them an invitation, through the phone, however we need to do it. And I know it sounds funny, but but it is, right? That's really the way, you want to,
that's the respectful way to do it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And letting them know, this is important to all of us because we all want to be, living together in harmony, So I definitely
jump in, Elena, and give you credit because what Elena does, what she's doing really very nicely is we're making the right thing easy to do, which is something that Kevin and I talk about. You want to have a conversation with your young people. You got to look for words and actions that are going to work to help you get them to the table.
And this is the kind of thing you do in the heat of an argument.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's not going to work.
No. We can definitely give you some strategies, what to do in the heat of the argument. We'll cover a little bit of that.
This is for the family team meeting.
Yeah, we're just getting the ball rolling here.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And then right above that, in our upper quadrant, we ask them, what do we do to get rid of these unpleasant feelings and emotions? And a lot of you have already given a bunch of these answers, because you're yelling, you're arguing, I think somebody had said repeating the same stuff over and over.
Kevin's going to eat again.
Eat again. Yeah, exactly. Stress eating.
Potato chips.
Right. Stress eating,
Sneak out. John says sneak out. Deborah said take a nap.
if it's quiet, right? You can take a nap.
Yeah, bring out the wine. There you go, Tina. Walk out of the conversation. Oh yeah. Remove yourself from the situation.
Absolutely, right. We don't want to stay. We are, as human beings, right? We don't want to stay in a place where we are uncomfortable, right? It's that fight or flight.
Online. Go shopping.
Go shopping, right?
Isolate.
Right.
Chris says isolate.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the whole idea of away moves. We want to get away from yucky feelings.
Trying to get relief. Trying to
get relief from them, right?
Right, exactly.
Music, device time. Oh, there you go. Get on the device. You got it.
Yep, exactly. Stomp up the stairs, getting on those different devices, slamming doors, right? Those are all doors.
Yeah, absolutely. Cupboards. It's great stuff.
Yeah, right. Hiding under the covers. That's a good one, right?
Yeah.
Hiding under the covers. Can you come out now? No, you can't make me. And no, you can't. I can't. You're 5 foot. 150-pound teenager, right? You're not going to pull them out from the bed to talk to you, right?
You are.
So lots and lots of things we start doing and saying a lot of things that, that are to get us away from that yucky stuff, right? Because we don't want to stay in that same room and continuing to have all of this, anger and frustration show up. So again, with your teenager, writing this all down, whatever they say, just keep writing it down. This isn't really the time to get into, like teachable moments, just really let them vent what it is that they want to say, validate, repeat their feelings, even if you don't agree with them, repeat their thoughts that they're sharing with you. Again, just start listing everything. And even prior to this conversation, make sure that you let them know that this is a time for them to be honest. They're not going to get in trouble. They're not going to lose electronics or lose free time, that this is really something that you want to do, so that we can move forward. We don't want to be here anymore, because this arguing and these, things that these away behaviors that we continue to engage in, it's not helping any of us, right? Like we're saying, like we're arguing over and over again. We're saying the same things over and over again. Nothing's changing. We're getting more frustrated. How do we, we're getting into these stuck loops. And how do we move away from these stuck loops and start to move toward what's important to us? Going back to that original question, what's important to us? What's our shared purpose as parent and child? Anything? Did I miss anything?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going through the process here. Yep.
Okay. So thinking about some of those toward moves, right? And while you've set the stage to now, let's think about what we can do to get back to what's important to us. As your parent, I want you to have your freedom. I want you to be able to have your screen time and be with your friends. So letting them know that you do want them to have these fun experiences. And also, showing some vulnerability. So letting them know that it's scary for you too. We, again, like we started talking about, we've never lived through a pandemic. We don't know what's in store and, what's going to happen. So letting them know that the only way we can truly be successful with this is if we work together as parent and child. And it goes back to, again, like we started saying, like by setting up this time to meet and discuss it with them, you're, showing respect. And you're asking them, I want to hear, like your voice here really matters. Yep. It's not just me driving this bus. Right. I need you to be involved too. Yeah. And I think one of the other things that we mentioned, as things are getting really yucky when you're going in those away loops and you're getting really stuck in there, bring yourself back to the center of the matrix where that circle is, that smiley face is. that's the moment that you're going to ground yourself. You're going to say, I'm hearing everything that's being said, and I am recognizing all of these thoughts and feelings that are showing up inside of me. And I am making the choice to just listen and be here. So I'm not going to engage in, in this argument, because I know that that's not going to get me anywhere. A lot of times parents will say to me, and that's my dog in the background. Sorry about that, guys.
Oh, that's right. We like dogs too. Maybe at the meeting with you, right?
She was sitting on the couch right here in my
yeah.
Something must have gotten her attention, but it's something that you want to. I got distracted for a minute there, but again, you really want to let them know that these are important. This is meaningful, and that when these arguments do happen, right, that it's important for both of parents will say to me that if I don't say something, if I feel like I'm not parenting, I feel like I'm giving in. And I just say, let's just sit there for a moment with that thought, with what you just said to me, right? And just ask ourselves, what are we giving into? We're giving into not responding. We didn't agree or disagree with anything. Not saying something in the heat of the moment doesn't mean that you've agreed or disagreed. And you can even preface it with, I hear what you're saying to me, and I just need to process all of this. And that kind of brings me toward, toward moves. And I listed that.
And dancing. Aikido. They're doing Aikido.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Look at that.
Yeah. So,
or are they doing the boogie woogie?
Boogie woogie, yeah. And those, I have them as like, what are behaviors you can do to bring us toward our shared purpose? Right. But they're also, what are things you can do or say, right? Because it's not just, your overt behaviors. It's also your thoughts that come up and, inside of you, and that causes you to behave as well. So, things that you say, are important as well. So what are some, and I know I listed some answers, but what are some things that you can do or say, to bring you back toward your shared purpose with your teenager?
Model emotional regulation.
Model emotional regulation. Okay.
Damn.
That's great.
John's get the Bristol stomp in the middle there. So thanks, John.
Oh, it's the Bristol stomp.
Model emotional. I love that. Any suggestions on how you would model it?
What would that look like if you were modeling emotional regulation?
How
can we work this out?
I'm pretty sure that Elena also gave an example.
She did.
I hear what you're saying, and I'm going to take a little while to process that.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That would be modeling emotional regulation.
That's a wonderful way to do that.
Absolutely right. The trick here is, folks, staying calm and using a speaking voice. I mean, I listed that as the first thing, but we know that is really hard to do. Mm-hmm. And then just be mindful of that. Be mindful that it's going to be tough to stay calm. And when you're noticing that, your engine running a little higher or the tone of your voice changing, just stop for a minute and just stay in that moment. And you can even acknowledge to your teenager, to your child, and saying, I need to calm down because I'm noticing my voice is changing.
Megan says not getting hooked, or noticing you're hooked, and then
and that you are being met with. Right.
Regulating your tone of voice.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Jazz has added, Elena, that keep my mouth shut just as you're talking about. Not saying anything seems to always work.
And I'll go back something Phil said. Phil spent 30 years with troubled, emotionally dysregulated teenagers.
Yeah.
We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
And Phil said, he always strove to be the calmest person in the room.
Right.
Well, if you're dealing with your kids, it's probably a good idea to be the calmest person in the room.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And that is so important. Agreed, 100%. Try to stay the calmest person in the room. And it is hard, right? It's easier when we do it as practitioners with other people's children, but when it's with our own children and our own teenagers that are crying and sobbing and are just melting down because they're stressed, they're anxious, they don't like this anymore. They want to go out. They want to have a normal summer. And our heart bleeds for them, right? And we completely understand that it's not easy. So staying calm in that situation is also, it's hard for us too. And we can even acknowledge that to them.
Exactly. You can say
it's
hard.
It's hard for me too.
Yeah, it's that. And letting them know that it's like that first question, like when we said, like, how many of us would want to spend 3 months with our parents when we're 14 or 15? And we were like, hell no. So letting them know that I wouldn't want to be with my parents either. I get it. No. And again, and what that does, it just kind of levels the playing field, and it just brings everybody back to the table of like, okay, they get me, they hear it. It just gets that conversation rolling. So, and it just
not throwing gas on the fire.
Right. Yeah. Because, a lot of times, like as practitioners, when we talk to teens, adults are the enemy, teachers, therapists, their parents, nobody past, like anybody older than 17 is a dinosaur and they don't know anything. So, and truly now with the pandemic, they've been validated, right? Because we really don't know anything. So, just,
and Elena, a point that Megan's making here is it's a deliberate choice. It's very hard to do in the context of us in our own families. It's, as professionals, you're professional, but when you come home, that thin veneer of professionalism kind of goes out the window, and now we're all just civilians.
You know what? And that's a great point. I agree 100%. It is. And especially like you say, Megan, like after a full day of doing this with somebody else, with other children, we're just spent, right? So like it's, and I think acknowledging that, like when, that's something that I've done too with my, when my kids were teens, just acknowledging like I am just pretty exhausted right now to even have this conversation. So can we talk in a half an hour when I'm a little, and I'll use, I'll say to them when I'm a little more grounded, and they'll spit back at me of like, stop using your psychobabble on me, But, I mean, but I let them know like and I'll say like, it's not you. I know you're ready to talk. It's me. And I need to be grounded. I need to be an active listener, and I just can't right now. So give me a half an hour or whatever you need. Set the timer, set the Alexa timer, set the Google timer, and then I'll be ready to go. So, and these are just, like just arrows to kind of like guide us in like how we want to move all of this. And just like I kind of, spun my arrows around on the right-hand side saying like, this is where we want to keep spinning. We don't want to keep spinning on the away side, with sticky words and things like that. We want to be on the toward side.
Deborah says, I tell them I have to use the bathroom and then I just
for 30 minutes.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, for 30 minutes. Exactly. Yeah. So, again, this, and letting the kids know too, is that this is going to be a process. We're having this meeting today. We're talking, we're kind of outlining this. It's not going to be perfect. Tomorrow, something will show up. You're going to want to do something and I'm going to say no, or I'm not going to be agreeable. And I'm going to try to, explain it a little bit more. But it's, we got to work together here so that we can, achieve, I want you to be free. I want you to have these things. It's just right now, some things are just not necessarily safe. And we just have to kind of, try to work together on how we can get it, to be more meaningful and safe for all of us. So yeah, getting them to recognize, right? And nobody these days, it's such an instantaneous, like everybody wants it, like, my way, fast. We pull up McDonald's, Burger King, everybody eats, you just get it. There's very little waiting. You want a game, you download it, and within 5 minutes, you have a new game on your device. You want a movie, you can buy it, and and within 5 minutes, download it, right? So, but this is not a 5-minute process. This is a daily process that we all engage in. So using and telling them this is going to be tough, because it's not meant to say that you can't get angry at me. I get that you're going to get angry with me when I say no, or when I deny you something. I understand that. And I know, I get that it sucks. And that's it, and you don't always have to. I feel like as parents, we always feel like we have to come up with a solution, and we don't have to. Sometimes things don't have a solution. The pandemic and things, why we deny certain activities, there's not always a good solution, that they're going to buy into. And some of that is just also remembering they're teenagers, where they're at developmentally, their frustration, maybe in a day they might understand why you said no, or maybe they won't, maybe you'll take them when they're adults and they'll get it. But, going through a calmer process, definitely helps you. And it also teaches them some really good problem solving skills, right? Because it really will this tool will guide them into having conversations with their peers, with their significant others, with their, employers, of how to get collaboration. Because this is truly, that's truly what we're going for here. And then my people in the middle, they're so happy now because they're psychologically, they're flexible now, right?
Doing the happy dance.
They're doing the happy dance. Oh, yes. Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So just a couple of.
That was great.
That was good. Wow.
Thank you. Yeah. So questions. Let me see if I can get back to. There we go. Okay. I think I stopped the share.
See the chat now too.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
you stopped the share. It's just you now, and if you can see the chat, lots of chats.
Okay.
Over there, and
Note the space to them in here. Notice what their response is bringing. Yeah, exactly, Megan. Yeah, I think that's important too, right? Is to continue to notice what they're saying and what they're saying, and what feelings that come up inside of us, right? Because when they, when your kid says to you, "I hate you," it's in that moment, you're going to have a reaction inside. It's normal, and just stay there in that moment. And just take a deep breath, and then just think about what am I going to do or say to move forward.
I'm noticing that you said that you hate me.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be flippant, folks, but it's a way of slowing things down so that you can process the thing. And
it's for you. It's for you.
It's just so you're not just blurting out a response to whatever said to you. So it's, and in reality, it backs you up by saying, I'm noticing that you said that you hate me. Yeah. Well, I'm noticing is a more distant view of yourself, and backs you up a little bit. Gives you a little bit of breathing room, and you may not be calm, but at least you may be calmer than your team.
Yeah.
And remember, Phil didn't say he was calm. He said he
was
the calmest person in the room.
Yep.
Right.
Well, everybody else was, Gonzo 10 on some scale, and he was he was just a little calmer than everybody else.
Just catching up a little bit here. John Listino said, rating and perspective taking is tough enough for adults, teachers, and staff. The worry around control and safety, so that good point. Timmy said, your t-shirts are great. I guess that's a reminder, Kevin and Phil.
Yeah. Great reminder.
we want
by the
those.
way, on that safety thing, teens are notorious for not thinking about safety.
There you go.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they're immortal, as we
Yeah.
all know.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And at least that's the mindset. And so it's difficult to talk to them about safety.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a good point. Yeah, there's that they're invincible, right? And nothing's going to hurt them, nothing's going to to harm them until they actually go out and get hurt, right? So, and depending on and it's one thing if you're not wearing your knee pads or something, and you come home with skinned knees, that's an easy fix. But some of these situations that they want to put themselves in can really lead to to really dire consequences. So and sometimes those conversations can't be had all in one sitting.
No,
they need to be done in like slow spurts. And I know, John Listino, can we discuss dysregulation versus fear and out of control? So you mean, John, do you mean like being can you clarify a little bit what you mean by that question before I make an assumption? Unless Kevin or Phil.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure what that is about either, but
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I addressed
the fear
it.
of loss of control is what's going to show up for all of us as adults. Is that we're supposed to be in charge, and we have a person in front of us who is melting down. So then there's this urge to want to control that. And that's another one of those little rabbit holes that can get you stuck pretty quickly.
Yes.
Because you're not going to control
It's not going to work.
No.
Like sticking your finger in the light socket. It's just not going to work.
No, exactly.
So John is now, okay, I think it's like he's, can you see that, Elena?
Yes. Modeling calmness under their pressure to get you to react. Yes, which is exactly, I feel like, which is, at that time when when you want to model to be calm and to be, and to be centered, and that's a lot of pressure, because like exactly what we're just saying is that it's hard to do that in the moment.
If you'll do it a little bit though, you'll notice that that's easier than trying to control somebody.
Yeah.
Because trying to control somebody doesn't work.
Yeah.
No.
Whereas the other, the staying calm, that's just
it works. You'll notice that
you'll
immediately,
notice,
but pretty quickly.
Right. I can do this. It's when I try to control other people. That doesn't work very well at all.
No.
And so once you experience that a few times, it gets better.
You get there quicker.
You get there quicker because it's just easier to calm yourself than to try to control someone else. And in case you don't know, just tell somebody, don't be upset anymore.
Yeah, really.
That
don't be angry. Don't be mad.
Works great,
Yeah.
Not.
Right.
So, but if you go back to, I'm noticing that you're very upset, and you then take on the calm. But what you're modeling too. Come on.
Yeah, they're modeling to the whole thing, right?
You're modeling. That's a good thing to do. You're not being flippant. You're not being flippant about the whole thing, but or you're going off the deep end about the whole thing. So.
Right. So another question, Megan asked, how do you manage the stuck loop from the other side? So if your partner is struggling with the loss of control, best way to address that problem behavior. Sometimes in that moment, I think like what we're saying is that sometimes when you're seeing that happening, just creating a safe place for the two of you. Because like what we're saying is like trying to manage that as they're losing control can only escalate it. It's almost like, adding fuel to the fire. Right. So really just, and again, that comes to the core of us as humans wanting to help our loved ones and our children. It is really hard for us to watch them struggle and to watch them, be so dysregulated. But again, unhooking ourselves from that and saying that the best way we can help them is just to be there in that space. Like Phil and Kevin are saying, like be the calmest person in the room, And then when things are a little more grounded for both of you, when they're a little more, regulated, then you can try to go back and talk about what it was that hooked them.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you notice about the situation? What do you notice they got to you?
Yeah.
And then the nice thing about working the matrix is that then the kid can go back and say, I noticed X showing up and I did this. And Phil will tell you, and with my own children, I never taught my own children the matrix, none, zero. And they all three know it really well.
Yeah.
Because they found it eventually to be handy to talk about things.
Yeah, they picked it up.
They picked it up just because it's sort of a handy tool to talk about, when you're hooked and doing yelling and screaming versus when you're working toward who what's important to you and doing stuff. It's just a convenient way of talking about things. And that's what you want to put forth to them. It's just a interesting, convenient way to talk about stuff. It's not meant to beat anybody over the head with it. There's no right or wrong to it. It's just, but the best way to use it is when everybody's pretty calm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not in the heat of a battle.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
You can even use it post-crisis too, Elena.
Right?
Absolutely. This is a great thing to do if once you get things under control. Okay, can we sit down now? Let's kind of walk through this a little bit. And
absolutely, it's a great.
Elena was talking about stuck loops. You can even then show. Well, first this happened.
Yeah.
Then we did this, and then somebody yelled.
Everybody weighs in and shares what they saw.
And you can just sort of spot how you all went into a massive stuck loop.
Absolutely.
Right.
No, I say to my parents that I work with, like, this is a great time for some self-reflection. Mm-hmm. So, it's like one of our goals for our kids is to reflect on, what we did right, what we did wrong, and using the matrix to sort that, in the after discussion is a great way to do it. And it's really successful because it's also like, this is what I did, like Phil and Kevin are saying, and this is what I can do differently next time.
Exactly.
So
just for example, what we were talking about, you, the teen, my child, you looked at me and said you hated me.
Right.
And so to solve that, I yelled back at you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And that led.
I noticed an anger shut up in me, and I told you to shut up.
More anger, and then we yelled more, and we did this, and we did this. Yeah. And really, that just went into a mess. All right. And next time, I'm going to endeavor to, if something like that happens, I'm going to pause and take a breath. And then they would be set up for it. That they know that you're going to try a different response next time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And Monday morning quarterbacking what you did is a great way to use the matrix.
Yeah.
And it models, I think, like somewhere along the line, we talked about modeling, it does model great behavior for the kids too. It models that, like, when you're accepting responsibility, that adults are not perfect. Right. I'm going to yell, I'm going to react. Right. And, in a day or so, I'm going to say, wow, that was really stupid of me to do. So I'm going to, like you're getting, again, like you're leveling the playing field, and saying, like, this is hard. It's hard for you and it's hard for me, and it brings us back to, again, the shared purpose. What did we want? We want to have a good relationship.
Out of the whole deal.
Right,
exactly. So I think it really gives us, it gives them an opportunity to hear you problem solve, to hear you, and saying, and be vulnerable, right? Because like teens, like they feel like nobody understands them. Right. But here, like you're showing them that you're pretty vulnerable too. And you're just as scared as they are. They didn't come, I would say to parents all the time, like in a quieter moment with your kids, say, hey, where was that rule book that you came with on the day that you were born? Like I missed that, when they gave you, when the doctor handed you over to me, that rule book was not attached, Yeah, and again, not in the heat of the moment. This is all like afterwards, but letting them know that like they don't come with a rule book like the games do or the phones do, and that you're learning along with them. Right. So I think that's. I think somebody asked a question about violence. What can be done if violence happens and the teenager breaks the contact to the parents? I think we've all, as practitioners, worked with, teenagers that really can, like start cycling and, spinning in that. And then they are so angry and, it goes back into that fight or flight, right? So they're going to punch, they're going to hit something. Throw something. I've had teens, hit, make holes in the wall, throw furniture. I think in that moment, Timmy, I think I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Again, just trying to, make sure that everybody is safe, and keeping everybody, trying to be the calmest person in the room. In that moment, trying to break that cycle of violence. Again, just really looking at, how quickly is it escalating? Can you say something to your child that might just, bring them down a little bit? Like, I hear you, I see you're really angry, or is that only going to escalate them? Because for some kids, you can say you're really, really pissed right now. I can tell because you're hitting stuff. Yep. And that kind of like, whoa, okay, they get it. Yep. Or that can only escalate them. So it really depends on, on what's happening, but keeping them safe and yourself safe. And then once everybody's calm, again, it could be like at the end of the day, going back and revisiting what happened. How can we redo this so right. that
They're still back to the process, Elena, because I think you're right. All of these discrete events are much easier to deal with if you've been able to set up a process and create that sense of psychological safety where you can discuss these things collaboratively, because they're going to happen again, probably.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. Letting them know that these are, your emotions don't just stop. They keep coming and they come at you hard. And that, this is really, like we're going to have to keep practicing this. There's nothing wrong. Like teens will say, what's wrong with me? Why am I reacting this way? Nobody, like they feel that it's just them. They feel like they're alone on an island. So letting them know that I get these emotions too. I get so upset and dysregulated. I'm just a little older. I have a little, been practicing some of this a little bit more, but I'm still learning along with you. And there's nothing wrong with you. We're just all in this together. Yeah. And this is a really tough time for them. We recognize that. It's not, we want to be out. They want to be out on the beach. They want to be doing their summer jobs, interacting, and they're not, and
yeah, what Deborah's saying is, can you see that? Trying to normalize the situation. That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah,
really.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. Well, we're at 53 minutes.
Yeah.
We're doing well. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, now obviously people can come back and watch this recording, and they can support us by clicking the green button.
Oh, yes, below.
Yay! We want to be patrons. And then you get to show up to the Wednesday and Friday stuff, which is cool. Right. Elena, did you want to share anything about
Sure. Yeah, and if you wanted to connect with me, if you're, in the Virginia area, if you wanted to connect with me, you can email me at. I'll type it into the chat box.
Type it into the chat. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, because Elena's up to a few things.
It's my Gmail, and be happy to answer your questions, or if you wanted to. I mean, so much of the stuff that we're doing right now is remote. I'm not in the office anymore. So you don't even have to be in Northern Virginia, but if you want to, you can email me. You can follow me on Twitter. You can look me up on LinkedIn. That's the spelling of my name. And you can.
What's your Twitter?
Yeah. I think it's at Elena Zaklis. So I think you can,
and you said LinkedIn too, right? Yes.
And LinkedIn, you can just look me up that way. And you can, and I'm on everything that Kevin and Phil do. I follow all of their stuff, so you can find me, there too.
Elena's a master matrix user.
Yes, she is.
Certified and all that good stuff. So
Yep.
when she says she hangs around with us, but we don't teach her anything anymore.
Yep.
That's
Not required.
I'm learning every day.
Yeah, we all are.
Yeah.
We learn by doing stuff and screwing up.
Yeah. A lot.
and that's what I've learned too, and I know we joke around about this, at our mastermind group, so we joke around, but one of the things is just be kind to yourself when you're doing these presentations, right? And allow yourself to make mistakes, be vulnerable in front of your audiences. And that's not easy to do, but Kevin and Phil have really have taught me a lot on how to do that. So, where I don't have like 2 weeks prior to a presentation, I'm not super anxious. I'm like on a Saturday night, I'm like, hey, I'm doing a presentation on Monday. I guess I should put something together, so that I can have some talking points.
You're getting there.
Yeah, slowly.
If it's Phil and I doing something, we show up 15 minutes ahead of time and we say, what are we doing today?
I don't know.
I don't know. We better look at the title.
Yeah.
We've done this. So anybody on this list or listens in the future, you think, gee, I would like to go on Crowdcast and tell the world about something that I do.
Something you want to share with the world.
Shoot us an email, and which are easy to get. Become a patron. You really get connected. Yes. But you can come on and do that.
Mm-hmm.
We want anybody. Phil had the idea. I found the Spoon Lady on.
We got to get the Spoon Lady on.
Pretty cool. I hope we can get the Spoon Lady.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. But anyway, we want to do this with people and spread the word. Using the matrix to have interesting, respectful conversations.
Yeah. And Tina just put in on the bottom that she doesn't prepare anything either. That's the beauty of the matrix. She's 100% right. 100%.
Folks, we're not being flippant.
No, we're not. We're not. Seriously.
It's a process. And once you know the process, you're sort of always ready, because you're just going to take the process and then take the topic and weave it into the process. Mm-hmm. So the thing about the matrix is learning the process. And if you want to get certified in it, what Phil and I are going to do is bring you on one of these and just listen to you go through the process.
Do your stuff.
Once we see you can do the process, you're good.
You're good to go.
You're good to go. So that's how we do it. So yes, somebody said, thank you, Elena. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Elena. Thank you for coming on with us today.
Back in the future.
Of course, anytime. It's always good to come back and and to be with you guys, and it's nice to keep the the wheels oiled, so that they don't get stuck.
Yeah,
exactly.
You got it.
So,
we're going to keep this stuff up. So we'll be back. Well, Phil and I'll be back on
Wednesday,
Friday, and we'll be back with another free one, and one done by
Ron Pizzo
on
Monday.
Verbal Tai Chi.
Verbal Tai Chi.
Space.
Very cool.
Push hands.
That's going to be a great one.
Yeah.
Bye-bye, folks.
See ya.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
See ya.